Thank you, sir. It's a great honor and great privilege to share my thoughts on an international aspect of IFPH. I'm very happy, very much delighted that today is the 227th day of uninterrupted lectures all over the globe provided by IFPH. And really, IFPH is doing a marvelous work, and nobody has done such type of continuous seminar and continuous Zoomathons. So really, it has been appreciated in UK as well. I got a good feedback from many of colleagues from the homeopaths that you are doing a marvelous job. And really, I appreciate and really I pay my sincere thanks to you all, IFPH team. So today I extend my warmest welcome to all the homeopath and friends at IFPH. And I am extremely honored for presenting a female infertility issue. So I've been invited for the second time by Dr. Shaji Kudiyat and the team of the IFPH. And really, I love to share my clinical experience where I have treated numerous cases of infertility with the help of homeopathy by clinical applications. As a homeopath, we always emphasize more on the mental symptoms, but simultaneously we forget the physical symptoms. Clinically, we should not miss a medical diagnosis. Once we come to know the clinical condition, then we can correlate that condition with the clinical picture of the remedy. And if you compare that, then you find a constitutional, then you give a complementary, then you give a supplementary, then it will work like a magic. So today I'm going to share my views with you on female fertility issue. So first of all, let me share my screen with you. Okay. So because of the internet, it might take little longer, but not too long. So as per the definition of infertility, where I have missed, are you able to see the presentation on the screen?
Not yet. Your screen is visible and now it is opening up. Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir, we can see it. It's just opening.
Because here connection is a bit problem in the evening time. Okay, now it's opening.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay then. Yes. So we are going to discuss about the female infertility issues and homeopathy. The introduction has been given by Dr. Shaji Kuriat, and I'm highly thankful to him. So we will start with the definition of infertility. Earlier also I gave a definition of the infertility while discussing the male part of infertility. So it's a failure by a couple to conceive after 1 year of unprotected intercourse. And it is medically defined as an inability to conceive after multiple sustained attempts of unprotected intercourse for at least 12 months. Infertility, as I said earlier, that it has been increased by 4% since 1980 by fecundity, means ability to reproduce. And with that, not the common people, the celebrities also faced a lot of issue with the fertility. If you are watching the Hollywood movies, then you might come across a big name like Brooke Shield, Marcia Cross, Celine Dion, Courtney Cox, Jamie Lee Curtis. They all have faced fertility issue at some point, and they have taken the help of conventional medicine. Some has taken the help of homeopathic medicine, and they have got the results. So we are going back to the vital statistics. As we discussed that the female factors is playing a role by 30%. Male factors are playing another 30%. Unexplained factor, they are 25%. Combined factor are 10%, and 5% are due to other causes. So here, the role of homeopathy is very vital while treating the 25 unexplained factor and 5% due to other cause. Because when we go to the mental symptoms, we will be able to find the root cause where it is lying. And then we'll explore that cause and we can treat that cause very precisely and very perfectly. So the word infertility is a gynecological condition, and the word gynecology comes from the Greek. Gyna means woman and logia means study. Gynecology is a medical practice dealing with the health of the female reproductive system, which comprises breast, vulva and vagina, cervix, uterus, fallopian tubes, ovaries, round and broad ligament. Any abnormality occurs along with this reproductive organs, it might cause the infertility, or it might become the cause for the infertility. And it is physician's duty to restore the sick to health back, as Hahnemann has taught us. Now, gynecology is always associated with obstetrics, because once patient gets result, when lady becomes pregnant, then the role of obstetrician comes into the picture. So gynec and obstetric, these two words are together. And obstetric is a Latin word. Obster means to stand by, and it's a branch of the health science dealing with the care of the lady, of the woman throughout the process of pregnancy, including before birth means antenatal, during birth means during labor, and after birth means postnatal. So these are the simple explanation about the gynecology and obstetric. Now, stress is playing a vital role with the infertility. Oxidative stress on the sperm, we have discussed last time. Here, ovulation is very important. And before life begins, stress begins. I always tell my patient, I always explain to them that there is only one egg is being released on 14th day of the cycle. So when you are treating any lady patient, you having only Yes, 12 times to treat that lady, because there are 12 months in a year. Ovulation occurs once a month. So you got only 12 times to treat the lady, because if there is a no ovulation, there is no result. Ovulation is only possible on 14th day of plus or minus 3-4 days plus or minus. So without ovulation and without sperm, there is no fertilization. And when egg is getting released from the ovary, slowly it comes to the uterus through the fallopian tube. So when the egg gets released, and when we advise patient to have a relation on that day, on 14th day of the cycle, or 13th day of the cycle, or on 15th day of the cycle, and during that phase, when the ejaculation of semen takes place, the millions of sperms are running in the vaginal wall, then it goes to the cervix, and then it runs upwards in the uterus. And in the fallopian tube, when the egg is waiting to get pierced by the sperm. So only single ovum, one egg, and millions of sperms are running after it to get egg fertilized. So the speed is very, very important. And from that, the egg is also coming under stress, and the sperms are also coming under stress to reach to that level to pierce an egg. So it has been always said that before life begins, stress begins. And that's why we are inheriting that characteristic in our mind. Since the child is always born with this sort of a latent stress. And that's why we are always complaining about the stress. And stress is also responsible for cause of the infertility. And infertility having a lot of things to deal with the stress. When patient is not getting result, so they are under stress. When ovulation is not occurring, that is also stress to the lady. When sperm count is low, that is also stress to the male patient. So stress is everywhere. Now, factors influencing the fertility. So factors are very, very important. Ability to reproduce is seriously affected by and gradually lowered by environmental factor. And environment is also one of the responsible cause for the infertility. Exposure to carbon, exposure to chemicals, the vegetables what we are eating, the tinned food what we are eating in UK. In India, you are getting fresh, but here, majority of the time we have to use the tinned food, and that tinned food is containing a lot of preservative. It's a chemical. That chemical is causing a sort of a decomposition in the food particle, and that is also affecting the ovulation as well the spermatogenesis. Diet, meat, frozen food, processed food, tinned food, as I explained, because the preservative, it loses its natural characteristic, and that causing a sort of a micro decomposition. That decomposition is causing a problem with the fertility. Habits. Recreational sources like coffee, alcohol, drugs, certain medications like cannabis. Now in UK, cannabis is freely available, and it has been said that it is curing a lot of incurable conditions. So this is also one of the factors that patients are not getting result if they have used this type of certain drugs. Too much of coffee is also reducing the sperm count. Alcohol consumption is also causing a decreased spermatogenesis, low libido, like that. And heterogenic causes, that is caused by the physician. Like if any lady has been prescribed the clomiphene citrate. Clomiphene citrate is a medicine, it's a drug to cure the polycystic ovary, to induce the ovulation. But if patient has taken it too much, then ovary itself becomes more and more polycystic. And ultimately the clomiphene citrate doesn't work. Same way, the contraceptive pills to regulate the menstruation. Here, contraceptive pills are being prescribed for the acne to the young girls. So these are the things which is causing a lot of problem with the ovulation and with the fertility hormone. Contraceptions, that is also very important thing. After marriage, they couple things that we don't want to start family right now. And if they continue with the contraceptive pills, and after that, if it is getting affected with the high level,
So,
sorry.
Yeah, there is a disturbance came. Don't worry, you proceed, doctor.
Okay. So the contraception after marriage, that is also interfering with the normal hormone production. It is interfering with the hormone productions in our body. Say, for example, I have seen a patient, those who are having a lot of contraceptive pills, they are developing a Stein-Leventhal syndrome. They are developing a virilism. They are developing a hirsutism. These are the side effects of the overuse of the hormone. So that's why it is called the heterogeny. Again, late marriage with advancement of the age in both the partners. And here there is an insecurity about the relationship. That is also causing stress. When there is a release of adrenaline, adrenaline is also causing a vasoconstriction. And when vasoconstriction happens at that time, ovaries and testes are not getting enough blood supply. And that's why ovulation is being affected and the spermatogenesis is also being affected. So here the stress at different level like financial, social, domestic, work-related stress, ambitions, stresses, executive level, these are also playing a very, very vital role on factors influencing the female fertility. Another factor which I come across in my practice, I'm in UK since 2004, and majority of the patients, lady patients, they are using tobacco, means they are smoking. They are heavily smoking, 10 cigarettes to 20 cigarettes per day. That is also affecting the ovulation. Water. People are in habit of drinking mineral water. Mineral water is not the real mineral water. In mineral water, they are adding certain chemicals to extend the shelf life. And I have seen the fluoride content is very, very high. And that fluoride is causing a sort of a fluoride toxicity syndrome. I have put one very good article on my website about the fluoride toxicity syndrome. And it creates a picture like underactive thyroid and ME. So this is also very important over here. Pesticides and chemicals, as I discussed, that food, tin food, the vegetables, they are being loaded with the chemicals, preservative, exposure to solvent, the plastering of the wall that contains a Zeram and Thiram. These are the two chemicals. And when there is a damp at that time, this is also playing a very, very vital role on the fertility issue. Carbon exhaust emitted by the vehicle that we discussed in my earlier webinar, coffee. People are taking loads and loads of coffee over here. 1 cup of coffee is decreasing the sperm motility by 5%. And 1 cup of coffee is decreasing the production of the egg. This research has been done by the Dr. Bunsky from the country I have forgotten because I got his paper, but he has mentioned about the effect of the coffee. The whole article was on coffee and its effect on the fertility. Alcohol and recreational drug like opium, cocaine, marijuana, that is also playing a very vital role. Anesthesia and medical fertility treatment like clomiphene citrate, human chorionic gonadotropin, human menopause gonadotropin, anabolic steroid, GnRH analog, etc. These are very, very important factor which is playing a role and which is seriously affected the female fertility parameters. So last time also we discussed about the miasmatic evaluation of both the partner, but let us discuss it quickly. So soric sexual symptoms. After discussing this, we will go to one case, and that is very interesting case. All functional and psychological menstrual disorder with the lady, dysfunctional uterine bleeding, hemorrhage, bleeding PV, prolonged periods, profuse period. These type of rubrics we are getting in our repertoire, right? Clots, black clots, tiny clots. These are the symptoms narrated by our Dr. Hahnemann. If any patient is coming to us with a very big clots, dark in color, and with profuse bleeding, we should think about the endometriosis. And that's why I always emphasize more on the clinical investigation. If we send patients for the USG, sonography, then the radiologist will definitely report that there is an endometrial hyperplasia. Endometrium has become bigger, endometrium has become thicker. Endometrium, the normal endometrial thickness is about 6 to 10 millimeter. Instead of that, the endometrium becomes 16 to 20 millimeters. So these are the things which we can correlate with our homeopathic knowledge. Okay, the dysfunctional uterine bleeding, hemorrhage, scanty period. Some patients, they are getting period twice a month. Some patients having a spotting, again they having a flow, again it stops, again they starts period. So these are the dysfunctional uterine bleeding. The ovaries are not functioning very well. The hormonal level has been fluctuating. At that time, we have to find a right remedy. Now, regarding the discharge, this is very important. And this is the first step. As per my observation, this is the first step we should take into the consideration about asking about the discharge. When we ask the patient that, do you have a discharge? Patient says, yes, I got a normal discharge on 13th, 14th, and 15th day, which is absolutely clear and watery. Bit slimy. Okay, it's normal. Because of the ovulation, that discharge happens. But when patient complains that I got a white discharge, that what boric and our materia medica, I use more boric, so eventually the boric word comes first from my mouth. So I'm sorry for that. But in our materia medica, if you look to the drug picture, you will be able to see the borax, the leukorrhea is running down to the thighs. This symptoms is more in favor of moniliasis, candidiasis, thrush. And the very good remedy for such type of condition is to correct the white discharge is borax. Okay, now again I'm going back regarding the discharge. As I explained you, that discharge is very, very important to ask to a lady patient, because if any infection is there, the pH of that discharge gets changed. And when with the infection, if the pH gets changed from normal discharge to the acidic, patient will never get result. Because if you remember, the pH of semen is always alkaline. And if with the infection like vaginitis, salpingitis, moniliasis, giardiasis, like that, if the discharge is changing its pH from acidic, then alkali and acid can't stay together. Sperm gets killed immediately, and though everything is normal, patient will never get result. So this is very, very important thing that I have learned in my practice. And for that, if you can ask the patient that buy a litmus paper and just check by yourself. Litmus paper hardly cost 10 rupees for a bunch of strip in India. Give 2 to 3 strips to your patient and tell her to change the color of discharge. And if it is acidic, then you should explain that you can change your diet by taking more alkaline food like dates, khajur, more almonds, which is alkaline in nature, banana. And in Ayurveda, if we refer Ayurveda, then I came across one good article that there is a sort of experiment that all the Ayurveda specialists are giving to their patient, that for at least 11 days, drink milk, not to eat anything, only drink milk. Because milk will change the pH of blood, for the male and for the female. Both the partners that Ayurvedic specialists are advising to have a milk. When I researched that why the milk has been indicated just to change the pH. And after that, patient successfully getting results. Another thing is very, very important, very small thing, but it's very important. Those who advise patient to have a more alkaline diet with the ladies and with the male and with the female partner, both has to take alkaline diet. With that, with the help of more alkali, the Y chromatin of the sperm having alkalinity. So when there is a more alkalinity, there is a more affinity for female chromosome to unite with that Y chromatin. And that's why majority of the patients, they are getting result with the baby boy. And this is very, very important in India. Once upon a time, I have seen that I need a baby boy. Many patients used to come to me when I was practicing in India. I need a baby boy. So do you have any medicine? Then I used to tell them frankly that there is no any medicine. There is no miracle. After all, it is in God's hand. But you can do this thing. And out of 10 patients, 8 patients were successfully getting a baby boy. So in that case, we are also removing the infection. We are also improving and changing the pH of vaginal discharge, because seminal discharge is always alkaline, and alkaline and alkali can stay together, but alkaline acid can't stay together. So this is a sort of a important explanation. If you start treating an infertile patient, so just keep this thing in mind and you will get a very good results. Okay, and now coming to again back to our sexual psoric symptoms, that psoric discharge is always blunt. Psoric patient get weakness of sexual organs due to prolonged sufferings of exhaustive disease, and psoric patient get excessive and very high sexual desire. They having a full moon and new moon aggravation like calcarea, like silicea, but they are very good at heart. Now, syphilitic sexual symptoms. Syphilitic is a destructive miasm, and a lot of destruction has been seen with the patient with the syphilitic miasm. The letters which I have put in a white that we have already discussed in my earlier webinar. So, and that is pertaining to the male partner, but with the female, here we can say that there is a decreased sexual desire, low libido, all form of cancer, uterus, cancer of the breast, vault of vaginal cancer like that, breast involvement with offensive discharge per vagina. So this is also very important. Again, I am going to discuss something about the discharge. Offensive odor per vagina, vaginitis, hypersensitive vagina, vaginismus, pain is there, fainting after periods, depression associated with fear during period, and recurrent abortions because of the destructions. Okay, now recurrent abortions is happening with any patient. So we have to evaluate that in which trimester the miscarriage is happening. If it is in the first trimester, whether it is in second trimester or it is in the third trimester. I remember one patient in India that lady had a 9 times stillborn baby boy. This is a story of a village, Boriavi. The lady from the Boriavi village, it is very near to my town where I was practicing in Anand. So that lady had a 9 times stillborn child. And as they were living in a village, they haven't had any access to any investigations. And at one day I told them that when you have come to me, but before that, have you seen any doctors? Yes, we have seen a lot of doctors, but this is the situation. Okay, then I asked them to go for a RH incompatibility, means blood grouping and RH factor. And that has solved the whole mystery. After advising them to take anti-D, the problem has been solved. So these are the things when there is a recurrent abortions, stillbirth, why it is happening, what other doctor has missed. So it is our duty to find out that what other has missed. Okay, now coming to the psychotic. Last time we have not discussed about the psychotic sexual symptoms with the male patient, but in the female, we will get loads and loads of psychotic sexual symptoms with the psychotic miasm. So here, mind always concentrated on sex organs and sexual fancies. Acrid leukorrhea, smells like fish brine or putrid odor. When patient comes to us at that time, husband is telling that, my God, smell is very horrible. I don't feel to have a relation. We have used Savlon, we have used Dettol, we have used good quality of sanitary towels. We are maintaining the hygiene, but still this smells like fish brine, putrid odor, offensive, is making us sometimes embarrassment. Hahnemann has mentioned about this. Leukorrhea, offensive, smell like fish brine. Why? Why the smell is like a fish brine? Hahnemann also mentioned about the smell like a garlic, other smells, sweet smells and all. But here, when there is a smell like a fish brine, if you research with repertory, you will be able to find a one term that is called the fish udder syndrome. Fish udder syndrome. And that is, fish udder syndrome is a deficiency of the choline metabolism. We have heard about the acetylcholine. So it's a disturbances in the choline metabolism. So this fish brine type of smell occurs, and it's a sort of a, exactly, if I want to describe it, it's a trimethyl aminuria. Trimethyl aminuria, it's a condition that can be tested with the urine test, and cipelinum is the drug of choice. With the help of few doses of cipelinum, it will definitely go. So it will correct the fish udder syndrome or trimethyl aminuria properly. And for trimethyl aminuria, there is no treatment in conventional medicine. The same type of smell comes with the perspiration, sweating, with the saliva, and with the vaginal discharge. So these are the things what we can compare with what Hahnemann has written. And it's a documentary proof already with the conventional medicine, but they don't have treatment. We got a treatment for that. And when there is a discharge, vaginal discharge, euphoria, it is always associated itching at the private parts, itching pudenda, pruritus vulva. And when there is a itching, don't forget about asking the history of any fungal infection, especially those who are wearing a trainers for a longer time. Here, the psychotic patient having a stains of menses, difficult to wash, they're having a mental weakness during leukorrhea, they're having a various menstrual disorder like menorrhagia, metrorrhagia, and polymenorrhea. And here we have to request them to go for USG to rule out fibroid or polyp, because psychotic myasm, overgrowth, we have to rule out precisely. Now we are going to the tubercular myasm, but here, let me explain here the hyperprolactinemia. Prolactin is a hormone secreted by the pituitary gland. At the time of ovulation, the level of prolactin rises in the blood. And when there is too much of prolactin, at that time it kills the ovum. So fertilization, though fertilization has occurred, but that ovum or that egg is not be able, or it will not be survive to reach to the stage of fertilization. So when there is an anovulatory stage, we should always check with the hyperprolactinemia. Okay, now we are going to the tubercular symptoms. So white, as I have told you, that white letters, that is related to the male, and I have just discussed that thing earlier. So today we are not going to discuss about that. And yes, masturbation, loss and lack of all enthusiasm, depression, and weakness of memory. Uterine, ovarian, and allied complications is always associated with the tuberculosis, tubercular sexual symptoms. Why? Because majority of the infertile patient, female infertile patient, has to be ruled out for the endometrial COX. And for that, we can advise the IgG, IgM, and endometrial biopsy. It will reveal. And once the diagnosis has been established, if we start with the tuberculinum 1M, 10M per week, or every 2 weeks, or every month, depends on the severity, it will remove the bad tubercular myasm and patient will conceive very quickly. So here, uterine, ovarian, allied complication, as I discussed about the endometrial COX, profound weakness because of the tubercular patient is lean, thin, and cachectic, anemic. Wasting is also there. And because of the primary foci has caused a sort of a secondary metastasis in the body, and that's why that has led to the fibrosis in the female reproductive organ. So we have to rule out that thing as well. Profound bright red bleeding per vagina. Here also we have to consider very important symptoms like dysfunctional uterine bleeding. Bleeding continues or persists for a longer time, and it recurs because of the fibrosis. The sinuses in the uterus is unable to close because of the caseation. Due to tuberculosis, caseation occurs in the endometrial tissue. Because of the caseation, deposition of the calcium inside, the blood vessel is not able to contract. It remains open, and that's why patient bleeds for a longer and longer time. So in our Materia Medica, it has been mentioned that if you administer tuberculinum first, and if it is followed by the calcarea, it makes a magic, and it's true. I have treated a lot of patients like this, and really it has given me a very good results. Tubercular patient, as you know very well, that it causing anorexia, nausea, vomiting during menses. So this all about the tubercular symptoms. Now, we are coming to the common gynecological conditions and common remedies that we can use with confidence, and it helps the patients to recover quickly. Okay. So first of all, in terms of organ wise, if we consider the vagina first, then vaginitis is the first condition that what we can discuss. Inflammation of the vaginal mucosa, often associated with an irritation or inflammation or infection. We have to find out the root cause, that why inflammation has occurred. As per the root cause, we can administer the medicine, and the good medicine is aconite, belladonna, hemimilis, Merck salt, skookumchuck, and sepia. These all are 3-mark medicine. Illumina, Colophyllum, Hypericum, nitric acid, and Rustox. These are 2 marks medicine. But we have to find out the root cause of the vaginitis, whether it's a bacterial, whether it is a monilial, means candidiasis, whether it's a giardiasis, whether it is happening because of the IUCD, intrauterine contraceptive device. Sometimes the partner is also gifting the infection. So we have to rule out that thing as well. And at that time, when you find that there is any infection with any reproductive organ, like vaginitis, salpingitis, and there is a history of discharge, always treat husband as well. And that's why it is called the partner pack course. Both the partners should be treated for any infection. Our case history, case taking is equally important, but any inflammation should not cause the obstacles to the cure. And this is very, very important factor. If you treat a female patient and if you don't treat the male patient will pass the same infection to his partner. Partner will harbor that infection, and again, they will be in a vicious circle. So always consider the partner pack course, partner pack treatment to both the patient when you find any history of any infection with either of them. Vaginismus, it's a sort of a psychological condition. Definition says that it's involuntary vaginal tightness causing discomfort, burning, pain, and penetration problem. It's a complete inability of intercourse. Consequently, vaginal penetration during sex is difficult or impossible. So here, I mentioned about the remedy, Platina, Argentum nitricum, Cactus, Natrum, Sepia. These are the 3-mark medicine, and Belladonna, Berberis, Vulgaris, Cantharis, Colophyllum, and Simiciphuga. These are the 2-mark medicine. All the medicine will work like a magic, but don't forget to find a constitutional remedy along with this. When you come across a constitutional remedy, by considering the constitution of the patient, consider the PQRS, peculiar queer rare strain symptoms. Also, try to find out any cause which is suppressing or which is causing any fear to the lady patient. And if you try to give a few doses of that medicine to the patient, when the mental cause has been rectified, automatically patient will start feeling better. But this all medicine which I have mentioned over here, that is organ-related medicine. Now coming to the ovaries, anovulation, ovarian failure, ovarian cyst, ovarian hyperstimulation, and polycystic ovarian disease or PCOS. Anovulation means there is no ovulation. And why there is no ovulation? Why ovary is not releasing the ovum? We have to find out this thing. Whether there is a hormonal imbalance, luteal phase deficiency, any abnormality with the ovary, any atrophy with the ovary. So we have to find out all these things with the ovarian condition. And here you can see only one medicine, Apis, 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 everywhere Apis. Dr. Kudiat has arranged my second session on 29th of April. On that day, I am going to explore more magic about the Apis, how Apis is working, why Apis is a remedy of choice with the female infertility, that I'm going to discuss on that day. So right now, just I'm skipping, but I'm giving you a tip that when you are getting a patient with the anovulation, there is no egg, polycystic ovary, or ovarian hyperstimulation caused by the heterogenic cause, overuse of clomiphene citrate, overuse of injection prophylaxis, overuse of GnRH analog, which has been prescribed by the gynecologist. And then it becomes our duty to restore the sick back to health by prescribing a rightly selected remedy. And for the anovulation, PCOS and PCOD, Apis is the best medicine. Okay, now fallopian tubes. We are going organ-wise. Now we are coming to the fallopian tubes. In fallopian tubes, you will be able to see three conditions. One is salpingitis, that's inflammation of the fallopian tubes. Hydrosalpinx means abnormal accumulation of the water in the fallopian tubes. And tubal block. There are two types of tubal block. One is cornual and one is fimbrial. For the salpingitis, as I explained you earlier about the vaginitis, any itis, any inflammation, we can go for an anti-inflammatory homeopathic group of remedy like Apis, arsenic alb, and Baptisia. If you consider the structure of the tube, there is a mucosal lining inside the fallopian tube, having a loads and loads of cilia. So when egg is being released from the ovary, with the negative pressure, it goes to the fallopian tube, and with the ciliary movement, it comes to the uterus, where it meets the sperm and then it gets fertilized. So when you are considering the mucociliary structure of the fallopian tube, I am putting my cursor over here, so by that way you can come to know. So this is the tubal part. So this is the cornual and this is the fimbrial part of the fallopian tube. So when salpingitis occurs, because of the inflammation, the lumen becomes narrow, so it cannot transfer the egg from the ovary to the uterus. So when egg is releasing from here, from the ovary, from fallopian tube, it goes throughout the tube and then it comes over here. Here it waits, and then when sperm comes, when sperm meet and it fertilizes. If this lumen becomes wider, then transportation of egg becomes easier. And when there is no inflammation on this area over here, the transportation becomes very easy. So the lumen becomes narrow either because of the inflammation, infection, and either because of the accumulation of the water. So with the salpingitis, you can use Apis, arsenic alb, and Baptisia confidently. When there is a hydrosalpinx, last time I discussed about the Cilicia. Cilicia is the drug of choice. For the varicocele, it's a drug of the choice. For the hydrosalpinx, it's a drug of choice. Another very good medicine is the Gelsemium and Calcarea. Let me talk something more about the Calcarea. Calcarea patient, as we studied Materia Medica, and in second year, we have mugged up Calcarea like that, fair-fed Fabby Movan at the age of 40. Everybody has mugged up like this. But if you go in deep of the Calcarea, Calcarea is a medicine for the retention of the water. So Calcarea is removing the retained water from the hydrosalpinx. But with the hydrosalpinx, we should also rule out the cause of the inflammation because of the infection hydrosalpinx result. Because of some gynecological procedure, if the tube has been damaged, hydrosalpinx can happen. And for the tubal block, as I said just now, that on 29th Thursday, my second webinar, Dr. Shaji has requested, and I'm going to explore more on tubal block, how tubal block can be opened with the help of homeopathy, and it's a non-invasive procedure. So right now, just I'm mentioning only medicine for the tubal block, that is thiocinaminum and Silesia. For the salpingitis, you can use Apis, Arsenicum, Baptisia. For the hydrosalpinx, you can use Gelsemium, Silesia, and Calcarea. Now, coming to the cervix and uterus. Cervix and uterus. First thing is cervical stenosis. Cervical stenosis, how it happens? Because of the gynecological procedure. When the cannula has been inserted inside for taking endometrial biopsy and the internal isthmus, this is isthmus, this is external opening, and this is internal sphincter. If the internal sphincter has been damaged by any surgical instrument, the chances of cervical stenosis is very, very high. Second thing, because of the infection. And for the cervical stenosis, Brownia, Belladonna, and Thuja. These are the three very good medicine which I have used. One patient came from here to India when I was practicing in India in 2000. That patient has tried everything, everywhere patient went, and ultimately they couldn't get the result. And when I checked the patient by putting a shot of a probe inside, and patient was told that you don't have any problem. But when I checked with the probe, I found some resistance. And with that resistance, I told them, you're having only cervical stenosis problem. You don't have any major issue. And the patient got the result. I'm trying to show the photo of the patient. Patient has given that photo that you can show that how much money we have wasted. But ultimately, we couldn't got the result. And with a small investigation, with the small examination, we got the result. So this is the charm of homeopathy. Can you see this picture? So sometimes clinical investigations, clinical examination is very, very important for a homeopath. Now, endometriosis. We will also discuss more about endometriosis. Say, endometrial tissue depositing outside the uterus. Ectopic places on the abdomen, inside the abdomen, on the mesentery, on the broad ligament, on the round ligament. When there is accumulation of the extra endometrial tissue, it secretes more hormone, and it is also one of the factors which is causing a problem with the fertility. So pulsatilla is a very good medicine for it. Thuja is also very good medicine for it. For the dysfunctional uterine bleeding, we have Calcarea, Calcarea flower, fibroid, Silesia, Sepia. For retroverted uterus, Silesia is very good medicine, Sepia is very good medicine. And for the hydatidiform mole, I have forgotten to write over here, but the Cantharis is very good medicine. Expulsion of mole, that's the rubric which has been given. Okay, now we are coming to the case discussion. A case of infertility with severe migraine. Just look at the patient. I think we are going above the time. I'm sorry for that. Shall I stop over here?
Continue, doctor, continue. How long time you need for this?
Only 10 minutes, not more than that.
Okay, please continue.
Thank you, sir. So, case of infertility with severe migraine. Just observe the couple. An observation leads to think about young lady came with a complaint of infertility associated with severe migraine since 8 years, continuously talking about her bad past events, childhood abuse, and present in inactive state, love to sleep, not cooking for husband, cannot wear tight clothing anywhere on the body. And she told me that religiously, I'm a Muslim, but I'm not wearing scarf. I'm rebellion. I'm not going to wear scarf. She was fond of having a sour things, tamarind, excessive coke, 6 to 8 cans per day, wants to cover all the time with wheat, rug, shawl, abnormal craving for tamarind, and headache with photophobia. Trying to get pregnant but remain unsuccessful since few years, intense desire, making her jealous to mothers. When any lady having a child, she becomes jealous, very irritable, angry, and disliking for any form of work. Can't be order, dictatorial, and foul-smelling dark brown euphoria running down to thighs and excoriating parts with severe itching and burning. We have discussed this thing earlier. So she having a dysuria means burning urination, painful urination, dyschezia means painful stool, and dysmenorrhea means painful periods with bleeding gums, scanty bleeding PV with heavy dark clots and severe backache. So menses were alternating, sometimes heavy, sometimes scanty, and brownish hyperpigmentation on face. Physical general I have taken, and that we discussed, so we are not going to go deep, but I have put a lot of information on my PowerPoint. So if you want to just refer that, that's why I'm putting a lot of information. Constitution is dark-eyed, disposition to low spirit, indolence, means habitual laziness, torpor, idleness, inertia, inactivity, resulting from disliking of work. And she is so lazy, so she was not cooking for her husband, and she had aversion for her husband as well. And here you can see the myxome is syphilitic, temperament is melancholic and choleric mixed, extremely irritable, easily angered, easily offended, hemorrhagic diathesis, profuse menstrual flow, scanty flow, alternating, and bleeding gums. Orientation, derangement of time. That's why she was sleeping whole day by covering herself, not cooking for husband. Discharge very offensive, foul-smelling, and dark. Thermal reaction, better by warmth and wants to be covered, and better by covered. Bad effect of childhood abuse, suppression of discharge, tears, menses, and all. So I selected lachesis. Headache, loquacious, inactivity, craving for strong stimulant like tamarind, hide in dark by covering herself, wants to cover all the time, better by warmth, sensitive to light, photophobia, sensitive to noise. Snake is also very sensitive to noise. That's why they hide in a bush. Melancholic, derangement of time sense, lack of time orientation, burning and pain, urine, stool, and menstruation, and brownish hyperpigmentation on the skin. So when you compare the characteristic of the snake and characteristic of the lachesis, you will come to know the analysis. And ultimately, we are coming to the posology. On 1st of September 2012, I gave 1 dose of Ignatia, means first remedy Ignatia, 4 pills morning and 4 pills evening for 5 days, because she had a very bad childhood abuse. She was being given a lot of hardship during her childhood, and she can't forget that. And that's why she became lethargic, indolent. After making her bit better with the Ignatia, erasing all the bad effect of her past from her mind, I started giving a Lachesis 200 single dose, Pulsatilla 200, 4 pills morning and 4 pills evening for 5 days. Again, I repeated on 29th September, Lachesis 200, single dose, Calcarea Carb 200, 4 pills morning for 5 days. Again, I repeated Lachesis on 6th of October. Her LMP was 7th of October 2012. Urine for a pregnancy test came positive on 7th of October 2012. Expected date of confinement was given on 17th of July 2013, and she delivered a baby girl on 17th of July 2013 over here. Why Lachesis? Because all the complaints are better by discharge. Mind, loquacity, verbal diarrhea. When she was getting angry, she was just doing the verbal diarrhea on husband. Tremendously, she was cursing and expressing her anger on the husband. So majority of the time, husband used to stay away from the home. And that's why he was doing 2 shifts. Physically, nasal discharge, epistaxis, catarrhal discharge, salivation, vomiting, diarrhea, perspiration, hemorrhoids. On fertility aspect, patient is better. Lachesis patient is always better after periods, leukorrhea, and seminal discharge. Discharge is very important to deal with its pH, that what we earlier discussed, and that's why I quickly shared these slides to you. And at one point, so this is the magic of homeopathy, and with the good case taking, with the good comparison of the pathological symptoms, and with a right constitutional remedy, you can add a life to patient's life. So this is all about my presentation. Hope you have enjoyed that. And again, we will meet with loads of information on tubal block and polycystic ovaries in my next session.